messages of hope in these troubled times. Join them for an evening of mystical talks, world predictions, and spirit messages.
Hi everyone, we're live.
And
we are live.
Definitely alive. Are you alive, Craig?
Yeah.
Great.
So it's a new format tonight slightly because Domenico's not with us. So forgive me if we have any hiccups this evening. So I'll be doing the control room down here as well as chatting to you guys. And we're going to start off tonight also by, we're going to say hello to everybody, of course, as you come online. But we're also going to set up a theme. And the theme tonight, we're going to talk about Shangri-La and Shambhala. The ideas of these mystical lost places, and we're going to have a talk about that and some of the movie and things like that. So we're going to just say hello to a few people first of all. And first one up is Peter Holland here, Jane, saying hi. You can see him down there.
Hi,
So say hi to Peter. We got technical support there coming in.
Yes, and you need that, Craig.
I need technical support tonight. We could do with you saying hi there. Got Rita Davison coming on. It looks like a new one. I've not seen Rita before.
Good.
Michael Sanchez.
Don't know him.
No, haven't seen him before.
No.
So it's nice to see you. Obviously from Texas.
Yes. Obviously.
Obviously, yeah. And then from Arkansas, we have Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
So hi there.
How you doing?
Yeah. You know Sally. Sally's coming on. Sally Halfpenny.
I think vaguely I know her say Sally.
Sally's my
Is
cousin.
that Sally Ann?
Yeah. Someone likes my pink blazer here, so we'll collect that one. Hi there.
It looks like a piece of chewing gum to me. You remember when you were a kid, you had that pink chewing gum, that big
thing? Oh, right, yeah, it looks like bubble gum, doesn't it? That sort of thing you stick to your shoe.
Yeah.
Got Patricia Scholzen again.
Hi, Patricia.
You know Patricia from Germany. Thanks for coming in, all you guys. And as I said, if you're just coming in now, you're just coming to the beginning after we've gone live as well. We're going to be talking tonight, first off, about Shangri-La and all those sort of ideas. And then we're going to go on to other questions.
And about the lost city.
The lost city of Shangri-La, or the lost land.
You would love it in the lost city, Craig.
Well, I'm good at getting lost, so I ought to be able to find it.
It's just made for you.
Yeah. And we've got from Merseyside here, June.
Hi,
June Williams.
Hi, June.
St Helens. He's a grand lad and he plays for St Helens.
Gosh.
Oh, no, that's...
See what I mean?
Wigan, isn't it?
Definitely a lost cause.
And we got San Francisco here, Carolyn coming in.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi there, Carolyn. It's nice to see you. I think that's a new face to me.
That's
Regalia.
good.
Yeah, so nice to see you. We also have some old friends here. I'm having to read them to Jane tonight because I've got to control it here.
Yeah.
But the meditation chamber.
I thought you was going to say Dr. Cough for a minute. Hi.
Warrington, he's in.
Hi.
So if you're coming in, we're going to talk about Shangri-La and things like that, and a few other ideas and what it means, and the real Shangri-La. What is it, and does it exist? We've got Kate Abbott saying, "Good evening, Jane and Craig." Kate from Cape Town.
Oh, that goes well.
That's great.
That's
all
nice.
the way.
Thank
Same
you.
time zone
Lovely.
as us. I think everybody in South Africa should come and join us because it's 7 o'clock there. We're always on at 7 o'clock if you're new. Always on 7 o'clock Fridays UK time. That might change a little bit later on as we start to do our new centre and so forth. Rita Davidson saying such a lovely couple.
Yes,
indeed we are. Well, I am.
Well, I'm definitely am.
Nat saying hello here. Hi, Nat. Nice
Hi.
to see you. And I've got to be careful what one to press. Would you like to go to this or the website? Oh, no. We've got here. What have we got? We got from Rainy Day London. Looking forward to tonight's endeavours. Karan. People from all over the place, isn't he? And Sheila, of course, she's just come in.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, hi Sheila. Sheila from India. Thanks for being a patron too, Sheila. It's nice to see you all, guys. Someone called Leslie just joined us. Hi there, Leslie. We're just saying hello to everybody as we sort of gradually come online. Lisa Parr here from Milton Keynes.
Oh, lovely.
So we'll have some questions later on the topic, but also off topic. You're welcome to do as we move along in the evening. We've got Nat here from Chicago.
Oh,
We were talking
lovely.
about Chicago
Yeah,
today, weren't
yeah.
we, funnily enough? Not a place I've been to, Chicago. I'd like to see all that area of America. And Chicken Lady.
Chicken lady.
That is obviously.
I hope that's not coming from.
Had an interesting mother.
I hope that's not come from a chicken ranch. I've heard about those.
Hello from NC to my favourite mystics of fortune.
Oh, thank you. Bless you.
The mystics of fortune. No, I don't think I like that. Do I?
Mystics of fortune.
You sound like gypsies. But anyway, she's being nice to us. Hello, Craig and Jane from Switzerland.
Oh, hi.
And this is Apple saying this, and she's saying very hot here at the moment.
Oh, yeah, it's been reversed here.
We got rain. You might hear it in a minute because we've got a flat roof on here or a glass roof. Hello from Miami, says
Hi.
Blanche Pearl.
Oh, that's nice. What a lovely name, Blanche Pearl.
Blanche, yeah, nice name, Blanche. And we've even got someone here I see coming in from Finland. Karina. I think we've had Karina on before, have we? We've certainly had people from Finland before.
Yes.
Because we commented on what a nice country Finland is. It's a see, Domenico, he doesn't say all the hellos. He doesn't he doesn't tell everybody. He just puts all his friends on.
Oh, no.
What he likes. All the patrons, of course. He always gives priority to patrons, but I can't tell who's who here. And Valerie from Bedfordshire is saying hello.
Hi, Valerie. Come on.
Oh, look, I'm just looking at this one that's just come up here. I'm going to comment on it. Blue Sapphire is saying, hello. Hi, Craig and Jane. Hope you guys are doing well. Do you see a nuclear leak from China as news is coming in of a leak from China? That's interesting because she said maybe the cloud you saw coming towards India. You remember I said that a number of times and I've written it in the book, in my book, which I will comment on. All about it is in there, Mystic Journey to India. If you are interested, not Mystic Journey to what? I can't even read the bloody thing. Messages from the universe.
You're in a different universe than me. You are.
That's my other book, folks. Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. Okay, we can make comment about that later on. People seem to like the pink, Bonnie's saying here, so that's quite nice.
Lily the Pink.
Lily the Pink. I'm going to have to get some accessories to go with this.
I definitely
later
think
on. We'll
so.
think about that maybe.
Materialization.
More people from India.
Oh.
Jasleen. And I think this is quite interesting because the people from India might have some comments about this actually when we have a proper talk about the topic. We've also even got people down there in Eastbourne because one of my Jenny here is from Eastbourne. We actually did the editing for Mystic Journey to India, the movie, not the book I was talking about, down there in Eastbourne. That's quite been a significant place for us, it was. And we've even got people in from Portugal. I didn't know there was anybody left in Portugal. I thought everybody had left. From Jennifer there in Portugal. So thank you guys for joining us. And I kind of talked Jane into yesterday, didn't I, watching the a movie called The Lost Horizon, because I've been reading this book. It's a really old book from the 1930s. Lost Horizon by James Hilton. And it's a bit of a hard read. Because it's written in the old 1930s sort of language.
Well, the 1930s film we watched last night, and I can remember seeing it as a child, and so did you.
Yeah, I can remember I was about 6
house.
years old or so. Because the film was made in 1937.
Yeah.
The book was written in 1933.
Yeah.
And we watched it last night on... I think we watched it on Amazon Prime, didn't we? You had to buy it, didn't we? It was only cheap. And they managed to restore it just enough. You have a few still shots as you go through it. And you get a few bits in it where missing pieces of the movie. But it's still really...
You could hear the voice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really old... But for 1937, I said it was, a pretty brilliant movie. I mean, they were struggling with their special effects to get this. But the basic plot of the idea is... And this is where that whole idea of Shangri-La came from. Popular idea of Shangri-La came from is it's a bit of an Indiana Jonesy sort of feel in the Dakota aeroplane at the start, isn't it? When they take off.
And they crash.
And then it crashes. A mysterious Chinese pilot has taken control as they're all trying to escape.
No, he was Japanese, actually, Craig.
I think he was Chinese.
He's Japanese.
They were escaping from China. Well, anyway, whatever. They were escaping from China. And... I'm sure he was Chinese.
He was Japanese.
A Japanese stroke Chinese person.
Was he a psychic one?
And they crashed, basically, after refueling in the mysterious Tibet, which at that time was unmapped marked uncharted. And they come across this sort of perfect world of run by this great Lama that was set up
You haven't got to the point how they got there. What happened?
What do you mean?
Well, these people suddenly appeared from nowhere, like Tibetan people, and helped them.
Oh, after they crashed.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they went to this amazing sort of 1930s vision of the future, which was in itself quite an amazing sort of set, wasn't it? And it had been all set up by this Catholic priest that had got lost there in the past, and it was an enclave that was protected from all the snow and cold, so it was a perfect land. And in short, they were trying to preserve all the ancient culture of the world,
and make it a perfect world, and nobody ever aged there.
And that was the mystery of it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
nobody
a place
aged.
of eternal land.
And if you left there, then you suddenly aged very quickly. So the people that were born 1800 and something would remain like 20 years old.
So that's where in popular
Can't you
culture.
tell Craig's been there?
Yeah, well, I never got old. I left. That's the problem. Is ever since I left, things got bad. So in popular culture, there was this idea of Shangri-La, right? So, okay, and everybody, and also Xanadu was another sort of idea, similar sort of idea with it all, you know. But actually, when James Hilton did the research for this, he was actually going to the British Museum because he lived in North London. And he would go into the British Museum as researching the old Buddhist text, not about a place called Shangri-La, but a very sounding Shambhala is the actual Buddhist Shambhala, which is the Buddhist way of talking about this ancient, mysterious, pure land that is hidden away somewhere in the north of the Himalayas, out of sight of all people, where nobody ages, and a sort of eternal land. It was sort of Tibetan paradise. Now, the Buddhists have got this from other cultures. They got a lot of this idea from their own endemic culture, which is called the Bon priests, because they have this kind of mysterious religion in that predated Buddhism in Tibet called Bon. That's where people like Milarepa came from, you know. And these were like magicians and things. So this goes back much further than Buddhism. So Buddhism had picked up this idea of Shambhala. And it can be traced back even further. It can go right back into the ancient Indian teachings of Shambhala. Goes right back to the Vishnu Purana. Right now, these Puranas are like piranhas. It always sounds like piranha the fish. I always pronounce it wrong. But these are the old ancient teachings of India that give prophecy. Many of them do. And in there was this prophecy of the idea of this place Shangri-La, or I'm saying it wrong, Shambhala, and it's probably changed from the beginning anyway. That they're in India, in the Tibet and Himalayas, is the ancient place, and you can also find it in the old tantric texts, in Kala Chakra texts of India. So it's there in history, without getting too detailed and bogged down with all the details of it. It's there in history, and there's a prophecy in these old Indian texts that says that when the world comes into a really terrible state, a great teacher will be born there, following on the lineage of Vishnu, that there would be a great avatar that would come from that area when the world is on its knees, when everything in the world is bad. So like the movie was picking up on these sort of things as like a custodian of Western culture, more or less, in that one. But there's it's a symbol, I think, for an old ancient teaching that's hidden away and be revealed when the world is in a state of disaster. So I find it really fascinating. And of course, the question is this a real place?
Yes.
And some of the things they found in China, for example, they found pyramids in China that have been covered up by the Chinese authorities. They've actually covered them over with earth because they don't like this idea of this references to pyramids there. And there's even been found ancient people that predate the Chinese who had blonde hair. mummies.
Here I am. Here I am. You waited for me, everybody. I've arrived.
Right, yeah. Well, that's true. So there's an ancient. So I just love these mysteries, you know. So I don't know whether you guys like it too, because you might ask us some questions about this later. But there was another type of movement called Theosophy, and one of the people that was very much dominant in that was a woman called Madame Blavatsky.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she's got funny eyes, and
Yes.
you know Madame Blavatsky. And she believed in these great masters, as it were. A lot of people pick up on this idea of the ascendant masters and things. This all came from her originally, and she believed that there was a great white lodge that lived in Tibet and was part of this, and he of a Himalayan adepts, as it were, that she talked about as being the custodians of the great knowledge, you know. And she and another one called Alice A. Bailey.
Oh yes,
you
Alice
know,
Bailey.
you've
That's
heard,
right. Yeah.
also believed that this was not necessarily a real place, but was some sort of astral
What about
plane
Rudolf
that
Steiner?
you could connect.
Rudolf
He
Steiner.
came a bit later on the thought. I don't know if he picked up. He might have done. I don't know.
I think he did.
But there's like an astral vortex or something like that one can connect with the ancient knowledge in these hidden places in Tibet. Alexandra David O'Neill too, or David Neal, what's her name? I've got it written down. Alexandra David Neal, woman, also mentioned about this too in her remarkable, amazing books about Tibet. You've got to read those; they're fantastic. And so did Gurdjieff. You know about Gurdjieff, of course. But his one of his followers, Bennett, Phil mentions about Bennett quite a lot. His parent, he also wrote about this same idea. So you know, so we get these mysterious places, don't we, that are considered as being like the custodians. And I just go one step further, I'll finish in a moment, just because I think this is quite interesting, just as an interesting starting point. But there's also, if anybody has read any of the Indian stories by Yogananda, and particularly his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, you read that?
Brilliant
too.
book.
It is. It's a fantastic book. But in there, he meets a great master called Babaji, which he goes up into the Himalayas to meet. And Babaji materializes this whole city around him when he's talking. Babaji is just like a sort of a young man, but he's thousands of years old, apparently he's supposed to be. And other people go to meet him. And he can materialize anywhere, even in your home, apparently. But he was, it's a long story, but he was a great teacher. But he would materialize whole cities around him. And you'd also find it in the stories of the Himalayan masters told by, what's his name? I've gone now. Swami Rama. I've nearly forgotten. Amazing stories of this idea that in the Himalayas is hidden the ancient secret knowledge. Now, I'll summarize it now just by one thought, because I don't think this isn't a place. This is the ancient lost teachings, what in India they call the Satana Dharma. Now, Hinduism picked up on the idea of the Satana Dharma, but it predates Hinduism, and it predates the ancient religions of ancient Egypt and Greece and China and Taoism. This is the old ancient teaching. It goes back before the times of Atlantis and goes back to the ideas of this sunken world that existed in south of India in Kamari Kandam. Or also, they believe there was also another sunken civilization that was now become the Gobi Desert when that used to be sea. So there's a whole load of amazing ideas. And I've got the predictions written down that they say about that, but I might come to those a little bit because I'm saying an awful lot.
Might you now? Let's get on with it, Craig, and talk to people.
So that's my thoughts. That's the start. I'll tell you a little bit later on if you're interested still. I won't do it yet, on the legends of Shambhala and the prophecy of Shambhala, of what will happen when the world's on its knees, and what Shambhala says about the prophecies for the world. But let's take a few questions from you now, guys.
If you're allowed to.
If you're allowed
if
to
he
speak.
shuts up.
But, you know, that was the theme tonight. I know this topic quite a lot. And if you're interested in this, you know, please give us a few comments and I'll pop them up on the screen and we can talk about some of these ideas. So what do you think about that, Jane, as a concept?
I think you need to take a breath.
No, I'm interested in it.
Well, I'd like to Well, I feel there's many things that we don't understand on the earth plane. And I feel life is a mystery in itself, isn't it? And all these scriptures and teachings that have been with us from the beginning of time, mysteries and everything. And we still haven't touched the iceberg of it yet.
Yeah, we haven't come to the surface with any of this yet,
no.
have we? Really? So if you've got any questions about this, guys, do type them in now, because we could do with a few of your questions. And then I'll put them up on the screen as and when you give us some questions about this, and we can do. So first question's coming up from Apple, who's saying, when will the world be on its knees?
Not yet. Not yet. I don't feel people, if you've got negative energy and you think it's the end of the world, it's like creating that consciousness and making it happen. I think we're all being tested with all these different viruses at the moment. And thank goodness that we've completed nearly the program of giving out the virus injections, haven't we?
I think the world is on its getting to the point of
It's
being
food
on its knees,
shortages we have to worry about.
Because I think we've got, not only have we got, I mean, I don't like to be a prophet of doom, but I do tend to be sometimes. I mean, we've got so much going on so many levels at the moment. Okay, on one level, we've got a pandemic. We've got some of the most difficult political situations we've had since the First and Second World Wars. We've got crazy people with nuclear bombs in Iran and in North Korea.
We've even got a crazy person that's trying to do global things, but in contact with aliens and sending out messages.
Yeah, we've got a lot of crazy people around. We got global warming.
Yeah.
All of it, and who knows what else could come along as well. So we are at a point, I think, when it gets darkest before the dawn.
The world's not going to end yet, Craig.
No, I'm saying it won't be, but I think that good things will eventually come to the world. But I'm quite interested in these legends of Shambhala, because there's an awful lot more to it as well. And what I think is written in those old stories are maybe some of the ancient prophecies that were kind of disguised a little bit. So let's have a look what people are saying.
It's a bit like the scrolls, isn't it? Hidden in caves and things.
Someone saying I've got a personal question. Sorry, Elizabeth, we don't do personal questions.
We don't do personal readings.
No, we're not on these type of shows. We might do later on, but then people will come to visit us at the new media centre.
Yeah. And
Tell them about it, Jane.
Well, it's quite exciting. It's an old building and there'll be nothing ever that's been done like this. We don't want to give too much away. There'll be drones, there'll be different unusual locations with interacting things that you're going to experience, big things from the paranormal world.
Yeah, it should be very, very interesting, because we can set up a special space. And when you've got a special space, it means that we can build the energy there and we can start to work a lot more, I think, much more with demonstrations of mediumship. And
we'll have guests.
And we'll have guests.
Yeah. Well, the butler will show them in.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and it's going to be a very interesting place, and I think you'll enjoy it tremendously.
Yes.
And so, if you're a patron, thank you, because you've been helping us to get this together. We've only just done it, frankly, by the skin of our teeth. So we could always do with a few more of you helping us out.
So put your hands in your pocket, even if you're Jewish. Put your hands in your pocket.
You're going to get us banned, Jay. And
I'm joking.
Put in the link below.
I'm joking. We've got Jewish grandchildren, so I'm joking.
In the link below, there is a link to the patrons there, and thank you all of you who have been helping us with this. And it's it's tremendous that you're helping us to.
Well, it's quite a spiritual thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's all sorts happening. And I'm going to pick up now on some of the questions, because we've got a few. Bear with me, because I'm having to read them and put them up, and I don't want to put anything rude up. So there's another one. Franco's saying here, do you think the ancient teachings of the Great Flood was the ending of the last ice age?
What do you think, Craig?
Well, I think that ties in very much with some of the ideas that I've been talking about here, because I think what we call the Satana Dharma, and all the original stories that have been picked up by Hinduism of people like Shiva and things like that may go back tens of thousands of years. And I've read a lot of Hancock's books on those type of things. And it does seem that there was a a great world flood. Particularly, he's talking in his latest books about the idea that there was a huge body of water in the north of Canada, basically, that broke. And when the dam broke, so much huge, like a whole sea moved into the other seas, rose the sea levels, and places such as the Persian Gulf and so forth flooded out whole civilizations like the Sumerians, which then those stories got picked up by the stories as being the stories of Noah and things like that.
Well, we are having experienced high sea levels now, aren't we?
Yeah. But I think these ancient teachings go right back, because I think going back millennia, that humankind had a very special knowledge, very much similar to the sort of powers that Jane and I have, the powers of telepathy, the powers of precognition, but on a much higher scale. Do you believe in a lost worlds like that?
Yes.
Because I think there's an often...
Look, when we had once, I can remember all these fossilized great big trees suddenly appeared from the sea, didn't they?
Oh, that was the trees turned upside down.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, because they used to worship they used to turn a tree upside down and worship an upside down oak tree, and they would cover it in honeysuckle as being like
but this
death and rebirth
the sea
symbol.
moved out and the trees came up and exposed that there was land there, and the sea flooded it.
Norfolk way, wasn't it, on the Wash?
And that, don't you remember they found it?
Yeah,
it was tremendous
find. Absolutely amazing. And one of the things about that ancient idea there is when we were in India, do you remember we saw a number of pictures and things when we went around the Sai Baba Museum, and it showed an upside down tree.
Yes, tree of life.
And that makes you wonder, were these old rituals going back? Just going back to the time of before Stonehenge, the ones they were talking about, those ones
before
they came
Moses.
out of the tree. And that going back to the earliest times of India, so many similarities, which suggests that there was more interconnection between the cultures of the world than people give them credit, So Mary's saying, Mary Rajkumar saying, Om Sai Ram, Telos reminds me of Shambhala. Telos having being living inside the earth. I don't know Telos exactly, but there was a lot of stories, wasn't there, about the idea of beings that lived inside the earth.
Yeah, and there was lots of ideas like the snake people too in the underworld.
The underworld as being a literal place.
Yes.
A lot of people even believe in it today, the hollow earth theory and things. And Jules Verne, didn't he, Jules Verne wrote about Journey to the Centre of the Earth.
Only Jules Verne, is a travel agent.
Yeah, I think it was Jules Verne wrote that, and so did have I got the right name right, Randall? I'm getting me confused now. And H.G. Wells talked about it as well. Yeah, but I mean, I find all these things fascinating. I mean, Hitler picked up on a lot of these ancient ideas and then twisted them, and turned it into his own philosophy, and talked about the idea of an ancient super race, which was the Germanic super race. You see, these ideas can be very much distorted. And he believed also in another great world that sank off of Iceland, where the I can't remember what it's called, something, I've forgotten the name of it now, that sank off the coast of Iceland, that was the source of the Germanic people. So it gets it gets a bit dodgy when you start playing around with some of these ideas, but it doesn't mean to say that those ideas weren't there from ancient times.
He had his own personal astrologer too, didn't he?
He did, yeah, and his own personal medium too, actually. So I don't think I'd like that job.
Well, you wouldn't be here, Craig.
And someone's also keeping on the same subject. Mary's saying as well, do you think the shifting of the poles caused the flooding in ancient times?
It could have. Edgar Casey talks about this.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, and he talks about the idea that the Earth's poles would shift and the whole core of the Earth would shift.
Well, it's happening.
His actual prophecies on that are pretty terrible, actually. The
Sleeping Prophet.
There's an interesting one, but I've not really considered this. The third of 81 saying, are there any beings in the oceans that are working to clean pollution away from it?
That is very interesting, isn't it? I personally believe that there's all things in the depth of the sea, like unusual plants that can be cures and things right down to depth. And for all we know, there could be people existing life there. Who's to say, you know, there's not life other life forms on planets and down the real depths of the sea.
I always remember I watched a brilliant Russian movie called Solaris, right?
Oh,
And it was a movie that was you know, watched it in subtitles, and in its time it was a real breakthrough. And they were on a planet that was just a sea, but that sea was conscious.
Yes.
And was altering everything that was happening within the crashed spaceship on the planet of Solaris. But it made me think a lot about the idea: is the world conscious? And if the world, like Gaia idea, is conscious, then the sea would have to be a significant part of that consciousness.
Well, take about the Bermuda Triangle. That's an energy field, and things disappear, don't they?
Yeah.
Planes.
Yeah, all sorts
boats,
happens at sea, doesn't it?
But why?
And I puzzle also, you know, they talk about this idea that water can retain memory.
Yes, I believe water can.
You know, and because holy
it begins
water,
with
for
a
example,
special name, begins with A, I believe, these special, because they do contain memory.
Yeah, and I wonder, because you think every snowflake is different. And why should it be different every single time? Obviously, there's some way of explaining that, perhaps scientifically, but it makes me think, with that sort of quality to it, something that can form billions of crystals are always different in some way to another. No snowflake is the same. It makes you think, does it have a way of being like a memory system that could be perhaps the memory system of the Earth?
Yeah, consciousness.
You know,
I believe the planets all run on consciousness.
And maybe even all these ideas of Satana Dharma might link into these ideas that somehow it's embedded into our very world somehow, that we can, whereby we can open our minds to it, that we could perhaps even access tremendous knowledge, you know, just like we talk about accessing the knowledge from the Akashic record. Perhaps the very earth itself contains these things.
Well, man's destroying the earth at the moment, aren't they? Ripping it apart.
Let's pick up this one. This is an interesting one. Marilyn's Planet is saying, why are there no sightings of ancient times, ghosts, human or animal? What about dinosaurs? If there is a residual energy, why aren't there sightings of these?
Well, we don't know. Perhaps there has been sightings and people don't want to admit to it because people might think they're crazy. Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of people think the Loch Ness Monster, for example, is a make-believe thing.
Yeah.
And that could go back to an ancient time.
You were saying people getting visions of what was there some time ago.
Yes.
But the problem is the dinosaurs are everywhere.
Yes.
You know, absolutely everywhere. And so but there's been, I don't know, perhaps their vibration is past. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, Marilyn's got an interesting point there. If you pick up vibrations of Henry VIII and all the rest of it.
Who's to say they're not going to come back again? You get my meaning?
Yeah.
What's happening around the world?
Yeah.
Who's to say we won't see all these things happening?
Oh well, I'm sure. I'm sure if we were wiped off the planet, and then maybe things changed the atmosphere and the mammals were wiped off the planet, we could be back to where we were.
Well, if we go back to the Ice Age and that, we're going to return going back. You say it's not to come.
Oh, someone's pointed out on the Atlantis thing. Sabine saying, according to Edgar Casey, Atlantis went down in 28,000 BC, and that's when Noah's Ark happened. Oh, that's an interesting thing. That I didn't know Casey said that. Interesting, isn't it?
Didn't they find Christ? Didn't they find Jesus' actual boat and everything that was exposed and came up?
Oh, you mean Noah's boat?
No, I mean Jesus' boat in Galilee.
Oh, well, there was some stories about finding they were talking about finding the boats from when he walked across water and things like that. Yeah, there was talk about that. I don't know. I didn't see the rest of that story. I think that was a lot of speculation by the press, actually. But you know, who knows? I mean, I went to Galilee, and it's still beautiful and mysterious. Yeah. I mind you, it was back in the 70s. God knows what it's like now. Probably all hotels now, I expect. Yeah. But it was just like going.
Well,
back
when you think of all
times.
These cruise liners, they're massive, aren't they? And when you think of Noah's Ark and things on all the animals, that must have been massive.
So you're welcome to put your questions up, guys. We don't mind not personal questions. People are saying things like, can you tell me about my relationships and things. And we're not doing that type of channel here. We will do that type of thing for people who come and join us in the new. I'm not going to say what we're doing, but we in the new show that will be coming out, and you'll be able to come and sit with us and have readings as part of the show. So you're welcome to get in touch with me through Jane through the website, and you live close enough. We're based in Winchester, so you need to be able to get to Winchester, which is about an hour and something from London, so you can get there by train. We're close enough.
Or you can fly in from Southampton.
Or if you're coming from abroad, you can fly in. We will pick you up from the station and so forth, so you can spend the day with us. So that is for those people who've got something interesting to share with us, who would like to come on as a guest. It's going to take us a little while to get it all set up, a month or perhaps more, but we'll be there soon. So and it should start to make quite an interesting new twist to the show. You'll still be Craig and Jane, but it'll be Craig and Jane plus. And we're going to have to introduce you to our family a little bit more, aren't we?
Yes, I think most of you. It's not like the Osbornes family.
or Adam's family.
No. You can see what we're all about. You can see Danielle. You can meet, you've met Domenico. And then you can see Willow. And then also Damien. And then you'll see all the others and go around the family.
Okay, another one. I'm going off topic now. New topic. So people are welcome to put what they like up. Yep. What do you think about the future of Israel now that they've got the new MPM? Now, Netanyahu is gone, hasn't he? And they got this new. I don't know. I don't even know what the new guy's like.
It's in quite a state, isn't it?
They formed a coalition out of just about every different aspect. They got far right parties, they got Islamic parties, and they put this all together. And it means that Israel's going to have a bit of a change of direction, because I was in Israel I went to a kibbutz and I worked on a kibbutz in Israel, and that was an absolutely fantastic experience actually. And I was working beside people that had been in the concentration camps there, had numbers on their arms,
Gosh, how awful.
And they were amazing people to talk to as well. And I've always had quite a lot of sympathy for Israel as a nation, actually, because I know, but my Uncle Aaron he was in the Mandate, and he has quite the opposite view, because he thought he had all the sympathy with the Palestinians, because he says, those guys have been kicked out. And I don't think we're ever going to get a good a full resolution in there.
Peace,
and no matter what you throw into the mix, it gets worse. And I've been saying, I think that there's going to be, in my early predictions in the year, I said that I feel that Israel in this year will do a strike against the Iranian nuclear facilities. And I still hold with that. And I feel that will happen, because remember, we've also got elections happening in Iran at the same time. And they're going a little bit weird, because they're not listening to the people. I mean, like we met some lovely Iranians, didn't we, when we went to Monte Carlo, wasn't it? We went to, and they were lovely.
Oh, they're a honeymoon couple.
Yeah, weren't they delightful?
They
people?
were, and beautiful people.
And because you don't meet any Iranians from the country,
no.
You meet people that have been exiled from Iran and things like that.
They're only allowed to travel.
But these are people that are allowed out, and you think, God, the whole world's the same. Yeah. And this was at the time, there was a lot of terrorism going around at the time, wasn't there? I thought, what lovely people.
They were lovely.
And yet, we see such weird politics going on. Those people are being ignored completely. So we have in position at the moment 2 political parties, one in Israel that is probably not representative of the people as a whole, because it's all every bits and pieces. And we have another politicians in Iran that are not representative. So I think it's a recipe for disaster, to answer that question. And I feel that it's going to be bad news there, I'm afraid. Sorry, I'm off on the Prophet of Zoom again. There in Israel and the rest of it.
The next one?
The next question is saying, will we ever clean up the oceans?
Well, I hope we do, but it does worry me with all these cruise ships and disposing all plastic and everything.
Yeah, I mean, one of our friends was saying we ought to do a program. We ought to do one about the program that was on Netflix about the sea. What's it called? The story that is big on Netflix. I've forgotten what they called it now. Sea something. About you. I was watching some of it. You saw some of it about the way they're wrecking the seas and stripping it of fish.
Oh, fish, yeah.
And the fishing industry's gone completely, totally into a machine that strips the sea floor.
It's wrong, isn't
and
it?
strips all of the fish, no matter what it is, just clears it and leaves desert behind it, undersea desert, really. And not only that, you know, we've got a green bin out there and everybody's got a green bin. And what does our council do? They say, well, you will sort it out. We all put it in the green and we'll put it in the black bin and the brown bin if
We
you've got
do
one.
recycle
And
a lot.
everybody conscientiously do that. And then they put it all on a big boat. They take it over to China. China then says, thank you very much. We'll get rid of it for you. And they just chuck it into the rivers.
Yeah,
And then the rivers clog up.
Yeah,
And
awful.
Indonesia, they sell it to.
Awful.
And it just goes straight
Yeah,
back
it's
into the
so
sea.
wrong.
So we might as well just go straight down to the Southampton shore and just chuck it in
Yeah, it's
into all our bins
dreadful.
down there, hadn't we?
Dreadful.
We're never going to sort it out the way
Right,
we're going.
ask some more, Craig.
Any predictions about Boris Johnson, please?
What do you want to know about Boris
You
Johnson?
give us some ideas on Boris Johnson. I think he's going to stick with us as Prime Minister for a while.
I think he's done a good job, actually.
Yeah, I think most people kind of don't mind the fact that he's a bit of a maverick. And I think in a position where we've got so much, where it's like in a war situation, you kind of want to get behind your leaders because, you know, you're not going to win this war unless you stick behind your leaders. I mean, whether right or wrong, that's the way people think. And it's exactly the same with a pandemic. You know, you can get away with a hell of a lot as a leader on any country.
In fairness to him, this is the first time people have experienced anything like that, and nobody knew the answers or what to do. And I think it's incredible how our scientists here discovered the Oxford vaccine and got it out.
Well, I think it's all pretty good. I think we're going to see him around for a while.
Yeah,
I haven't really thought it through with him, actually, of where it's going to go. Eventually, I mean, all political careers always end in disaster, don't they? They always, because eventually you fall off the cliff. You know, you're no longer popular. I think I don't think all these accusations they've been throwing at him I don't think the public's going to be sort of calling for his head because of it. And even the press haven't done a big job about trying to, you know, all the things that he's, you know, all the terrible things he's written about everybody and everything like that by text. We show everybody. And we think, well, all politicians are like that.
I think they were more concerned what his wife bought in 10 Downing Street.
Yeah.
That seems a bit stupid to me.
Yeah. Someone's saying, talk more about Atlantis. Because this was kind of at the beginning.
Yeah, well, you keep going off randomly.
Well, we're letting the questions go wherever they like. Yeah. So Atlantis.
Well, some people think it's in Greece, don't they? Because some people think they've come across all different things in the ocean.
Yeah, Santorini.
Yes.
Because that was the island that was just off the coast of Crete. That basically was a volcanic island that just exploded. Now, that would have happened, we think, when the Cretan civilization was there. So the Cretans, the people of Crete, I don't know, they called them Cretans, do you?
No.
We've insulted everybody tonight. The people of Crete, which was a pretty advanced civilization of its time, would have been completely tsunamied by what happened there.
It definitely did exist.
And if Santorini had an advanced civilization like Crete had, which would have gone because we've never seen any remnants of it, then they may have been the great island people with the great teachings that fell, and the people of Crete picked up on that. And of course, Crete was trading with Egypt, of ancient Egypt. So the stories would have traveled back to ancient Egypt. Crete was covered in pine trees, so they're cutting down all the pine trees, selling them to Egypt. The Egyptians are buying this, and so they would have picked up the story. And then Plato, when he'd heard the story about Atlantis, picked up the story from Solus, who was the Egyptian teacher. So he picked up Solus's story, and then Plato talked about it, and he talked about things like it was beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which would have been Pillars of Hercules were between Spain and Ceuta, with the straits there, or whatever they're called, I've forgotten now. So he seemed to think they were further out in the Atlantic, but it could have been the fact that, you know, their geography may have been wrong and it may have been Santorini.
So
but I think the interesting thing is what Mary's saying here, because she's talking about Lemuria.
Yes.
Now, this may be more close to what we have as a fantasy of Atlantis, or an idea of Atlantis, or perhaps the real truth of what the great sunken world was about. Because Mary's saying Lemuria was a land before Atlantis. It was said that Kalamari, India, is the remnant of Lemuria. So that's another good one. You know that guy Hancock? Did you see it? You watched some of it with me on telly, haven't you? The guy, he has the same hat as me, basically.
Yes, you copied him, or is he copied you?
Copied me. He's an archaeologist hat.
Talk about hats. I wonder if there's materialization going on, Craig.
Oh, you said it. Yeah. Actually, I've got to show you my new hat. You know, Jane's got me a new hat. She thinks that this needs toning down a bit, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to tone it down a bit, and I thought I'd get myself a hat to go with it. I think that's quite suitable.
You,
I'm sure people will take me more seriously now, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you'll take me a lot more.
You only need
seriously.
a mad hat in this car, don't you?
Definitely. I think I'll pop out. I'll go and get something down the shop in a minute with this on, shall we?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to wear that anymore because I look a complete bloody idiot.
It suits you. It suits you.
It suits my theme.
All right, answer
So if you're still watching and everybody's turned off now, Lemuria, again, Hancock had some interesting ideas. He started diving off the coast of India, and when I went to what's the name of it? Oh God,
Comes with age.
Gone. No, it's down by what was the name of the old temples? I can't remember the name, so I can't quote it. That's a nuisance. It's definitely getting more senior moments. But he dived off the coast of India, and there was lots and lots of hidden temples. And if you consider the depth of the sea to where they found the temples, those temples were dating that flooding of being at least 10,000 years ago. Because if it was that deep, the sea level would have had to come up so high. So the suggestion that more than 10,000 years ago, but thousands of years ago, that there was this huge continent connected to India, and that the people in Lemuria, the Kamari Kandam, as the Tamils call it, that those people were the people that ceded the knowledge to southern India, to what we now find in the Tamil teachings of southern India. I'm absolutely convinced it's the case. I mean, geologically, it can be proven to be true, and it's certainly worth looking into, folks. I mean, I could spend I've had put other videos up just about that, and and we can look at that. So I'll run off on a different topic, shall we, Summer Jane? Now,
yeah,
so find you something, because normally Domenico does all this for us,
and he's on holiday.
I saw a good one there about, and lost it now. There's one that I think that would be quite a nice one for you to talk about, Jane. Well, I'll have a look at some more things.
Well, I'll decide that, Craig.
Sarah's saying, please, Craig and Jane, if you lose a child, no matter what age, will they wait for you when you pass?
Yes.
I'm living a nightmare, and it's the only hope I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes children come to save, especially babies, they come to save the mother. But if you've lost a child that's grown 5 to 6 or a bit older, and you've done everything you possibly could for that child, they do come back and they do wait for us. And I can feel that there's nothing worse than losing a child. It rips your heart and soul out. And I feel you'll get proof of that child at times. It might be that you might hear the voice clairaudiently, or you might clairsentience sense them, or there might be something that's too much of a coincidence, all that. But your children do grow to a certain age in the spirit realm, and they do wait for you.
Yeah, indeed. And this often, this has been proved a lot through a lot of the mediumship, not just through us, but often through some of the physical medium circles that were done in spiritualism.
And psychic artists sometimes can draw children from beyond, and the spirit guide will bring that child through. You need to have a very, very, very skilled artist that do that. Coral Polge was one.
She was brilliant. She used to draw.
Yeah.
She would draw spirit communicators, and sometimes even another medium, like one of the mediums that taught me, Bill Landis, who was a great medium.
I don't go random though.
Sorry, he used to do the links up to in the theatre, and Coral used to draw the picture.
Yes.
But she was drawing the picture before he got it, and then suddenly he looks and it's that they've done exactly the same thing. Really good evidence was done like that.
And sometimes, if you've lost a child, you retain a piece of their hair and things like that, which you might put in an envelope. Or I don't know why I'm getting a child with curls. I don't know what that means. So I'm getting a child with curls as I'm talking here.
Mm-hmm.
Can she
Well, we
answer?
can't do links with people because I won't be able to follow it on
Okay,
there either.
sorry,
Jane. It's
but
too
I would
quick.
have loved to
But
have done it for you.
We will do some things like that, particularly if we get maybe some Zoom ones going later on where we can interact with people as well. How long will Harry stay in the USA and with Meghan? That old chestnut's come up again.
Oh dear. I think there's more interesting things in life than Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, I said last week that she should have called it the child Netflix, didn't I? Yeah. I got a few comments on that.
Yeah,
well, they'd at least got some money by calling them Netflix. You could have got some interesting.
Well, if they're twins, they could have called Netflix and Prime.
yeah. Okay, let's see what. There was someone there saying also about on these cyber attacks. Mary here saying about so many cyber attacks and technology glitches in apostrophes are causing so many disruptions these days. Are they connected as part of a bigger plan?
I think they are. We think they're coming from China, don't we?
Well, China and Russia are the main culprits, and of course, crime has gone online.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and scammers.
Blackmail people. I mean, they did some recent ones, didn't they? Where the hospital, I can't remember which hospital it was. I think it was an American one this time. Got caught out, and they took everybody's records, and they had to pay huge millions to free them again. And then we also see China put in. They just recently this week they put new space things going up to the new Chinese in space again. All that I remember going back. They stole all that from when they hacked NASA that time. This is going back about 20, 30 years ago. They hacked NASA. And I thought, we're going to see China in space now. So this is a war, really. This is a war that's going on. I mean, nowadays the war is in information and
technology and smart meters. Alexa, all kinds of gadgets you've been listened into. The
whole thing. We can be heard. We can switch off. A whole country's utilities using. They've done it with Iran, didn't they? When they were trying to process it, suddenly it all switched off. Yeah. Bugs in the system and so forth. And God knows what's in everything going around. But who are the culprits? Is it all linked together, or are these all separate things? Because I've always said that I think China and Russia. And it's happening now. Well, I was saying this 10 years ago or more when I was first doing some of the first YouTubes, that China and Russia will become one, not country, but one ally.
It came through in trance, like China was trying to take the world over. And because it doesn't help people buying cheap products from China.
No,
everything should be made in England and, countries. And
it should be made in democratic countries to rules that protect the working people and the children. So and the environment, and don't pump rubbish into the sky and seas. And what do? We buy it here, and it's all protected, and everything's done right. But we bought it from China, where they're chucking everything into the sky, and you can hardly breathe in Beijing, and throwing it all, causing terrible things, So I think we have a lot to worry about with these cyber attacks, Mary. I agree with you.
Just looking
and
at
I think
doves.
I know we got the birds out there,
doves.
And the difficulties when they start to get together, because you could say China could say to Russia, "Can you do something for us?" And vice versa. We'll trade this with you. I mean, there's all sorts going on in the background there. that I think it as getting worse and worse and worse. You know, Caroline's saying that I think the more advanced we've become, the worse we are. I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. The world is changing, isn't it? Changing so much. And it worries me if there'd be a food shortage.
Yeah, I was saying that before as well.
There's going to be a food shortage.
That we're going to see coming out of this food shortages.
Yeah. So grow your own vegetables and women get bacon.
Yeah.
There will be food shortage.
Ben saying, why is it Australia and New Zealand have dealt so well with COVID and most others have done so badly, like the UK? Are the spiritual lessons we need as societies, collectives different somehow?
Well, New Zealand, they were quite strict, weren't they?
And Australia was. Yes, they basically didn't let the flights in.
Yeah. I think we've done quite well with the program of injections here ahead of Europe.
Yeah, if we hadn't done the injection rollout, things would have been far worse. Yeah. And the problem is international communications means that we can take illnesses and pass them around the world within seconds. Well, they should have closed
all the airports, shouldn't they, immediately, don't you think?
That's what we should have done. But everybody was too late. But that's all very fine in hindsight, isn't it?
But you don't know.
And things get worse when we so keep your questions coming, guys, because we could do some fresh ones now.
You've got 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I only got we haven't 5:56. We've got a little bit longer today. Yeah,
it means he talks longer.
Oh, there's an interesting one. Someone said about going back to the Shambhala one. Hello, Craig and Jane from India. In Hindu culture, we believe Shambhala is a place Lord Vishnu will take birth. It will be his last avatar.
That's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. This is what's fascinating about it. In fact, I said, didn't I? I said I would tell people about the prophecies of Shambhala. Now, these come from the old stories from the Vishnu Purana. So these are like the stories of the prophet Shambhala. That there was 32 kings will rule for 100 years in the ancient idea of Shambhala. And then when there's an evil tyrant who will oppress the earth is part of the idea, and there will be a reign of terror. So this is a bit like Nostradamus was saying about the Antichrist sort of person, and they would come from the east, right? And then the 32nd king of Shambhala, Rudra Katrin, will lead a mighty army against the tyrant and his supporters. And the last great battle, they will be destroyed and peace will be restored.
Yes.
And we've got the actual wordings here. Actually, if those that have got interested in this topic, then this is what the prophecy says, because this is what Sindhu's perhaps picking up on. There will come a time when all life on earth is in danger. In this era, great barbarian forces will have arisen, which have unfathomable destructive power. This has been written thousands of years ago, thousands. New and unforeseen technologies will appear during this time with the potential to lay waste to the world. They knew that back then. In this era, when the future of sentient life seems to hang by the frailest of threads, the kingdom of Shambhala will appear. Now, isn't that a bit like the idea also of that Atlantis will rise again from the sea?
Or the coming of Christ, second coming.
It's like it's a bit like that as well. And also the ideas of Casey as well. All these things kind of have very similar myths.
Yes,
in different forms, but they're in all different cultures, all different religions, all from different places. I talked about the idea, that one off Iceland. We talked about the Middle Eastern stories. We talked about Tibetan stories, Indian stories, Chinese stories. They have similar ones in Japan too. And all this seems to suggest that a turning point will come, but that the world will not be pulled into absolute destruction, that it will come to the point of tremendous fear, but the times will eventually turn for the better.
Well, I thought the year 2027 we're going to see a change.
Yeah, also
it's all coming.
2027 is one of those dates that's been highlighted. And even I was also picking up on Mother Shipton prophesied
yes,
metal
Mother
ships
Shipton,
floating and metal birds,
Yes.
aeroplanes. Yellow
Yeah.
people will rule the world,
Yeah,
she said.
see?
She
Well-
came from Yorkshire, Mother Shipton. didn't
Well,
she?
it came through in trance that China and Russia will try to rule the world.
Yeah, I think China and Russia are going to cause us an awful lot of problems, and I think we do have to counter that. It's not the Chinese people, of course, is it? But it's
No.
the if we get communist countries and people with vested interests, and we don't value our democracies enough, and our own democracies are under threat as well from the way the media massage things, the way we dumb everything down, the way there's not transparency in politics in America and Europe and England and everywhere. You know, we need to value and strengthen our democracies, because I think it's a very dangerous time we live in. And I think there's dark forces working in the background, just like that lady talked about, you know, the dangers of technology and what's going on.
That's true.
I mean, how long can we go on like that? I think we do have to be a lot more vocal about these things, because we all, you know, we like cheap goods. If we're all comfortable, we'll walk to disaster. We'll all walk like lemmings off the edge of the cliff.
It's a bit concerning, all these machines taking over. It makes you lazy.
Yeah, and we don't, you know, we buy cheap products, but do we care if some child is choking in a factory in the East to supply other children in this country with teddy bears? You know, I mean, we got to think more globally, because, you know, we have to, but we also have to think about, you know, we got pollution here, but what about what's going on in these other countries? But we buy their products. That should be the number one thing on the agenda. But I worry now, because people like Biden, although he's saber rattling about it all, I just don't think he's vocal enough.
Not strong enough.
And we need strong things about this. Anyway, I'm going on.
A strong woman to sort all these weakly men.
Yeah. Have all the men ironing all the time and keep them occupied.
Get a whip. You're not going fast enough.
Hoovering therapy. Anyway, we're coming to the end now, guys. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming with us. If you come again on this channel, we're always here on 7 o'clock Friday nights UK time. And if you become a patron, that helps us a lot, because it helps us with all this other work we're trying to do in the background with our new broadcasting unit, with the spiritual center we're trying to get together, and with the other charitable work that we do, that you'll see in my video Mystic Journey to India, that's on Amazon Prime at the moment. And with all that,
Hamilton Parker Foundation, if you said that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. But you can do that whole foundation is through the patrons, and you can find it in the link below in the description, and go to patron/Hamilton Parker.
And if you're a patron, then you can definitely be a guest on our program.
Yeah, again, we're looking for guests soon. So people with interesting ideas, interesting experiences, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, UFO experiences, and those that may have a real need and prepared to have a mediumistic reading live with Jane and I on this channel. All those type of things will be happening in the near future on this channel. So stay tuned. Okay, we're going to say bye for now then, folks.
And we're going to tune out now.
Okay.
Bye.
See you soon.